licensing procedures, fostering collaboration, and promoting digital infrastructure, Uganda has emerged as a beacon of opportunity for local and international fintech ventures. The Ministry of ICT has developed the Digital Transformation Roadmap, which will be launched this Thursday, the 17th, I believe at this very venue. And it hinges on 5 key pillars. The first one is enhancing digital infrastructure. The second is promoting digital services. The third, fostering innovations and entrepreneurship. The fourth, empowering digital skills and literacy. And the fifth, promoting cybersecurity, data protection, and privacy. As this roadmap is rolled out, development partners have been instrumental to support the process. The Japanese government, through the Japanese International Development Corporation, launched a project late last month that will play a pivotal role in providing the right skill set to the vast talent pool we have in our country, as well as support other key pillars through policy, business matching, entrepreneurship, and mentorship. I call upon the UBA to take part in this project as key stakeholders that can benefit your consumers as well as your institutions. Furthermore, the role of Uganda's digital transformation roadmap cannot be overstated. This visionary roadmap lays the foundation for a digital economy, reinforcing the enabling environment for fintechs. The roadmap's focus on enhancing digital literacy, expanding connectivity, and optimizing digital government services resonates harmoniously with fintech evolution. By aligning these efforts, the government accelerates the integration of fintech innovations, ensuring that startups and established players alike can harness the power of technology to propel financial inclusion and economic progress. Moreover, as we gather here today, we are also very mindful of the remarkable aspirations set forth by the African Union. I had the honor of attending the Africa Jobs Forum last month with the PS in Ethiopia, and they have a vision of achieving at least 60% digital economy for all African countries. This opens doors to unprecedented potential. In this landscape, Uganda's commitment for fintech innovation harmonizes seamlessly with continental aspirations. By harnessing the momentum of rapidly digitizing Africa, Uganda's fintech ecosystem stands to play a transformative role in shaping the region's economic and technological future. In this context, the convergence of cutting-edge technologies like blockchain and artificial intelligence becomes very crucial. Blockchain's secure and transparent ledger system can revolutionize financial transactions, enhancing security, reducing fraud, and increasing transparency. AI, on the other hand, presents opportunities to optimize risk assessment, customer engagement, and fraud detection within the fintech landscape. However, as earlier stated by Ms. Sarah, it is important to acknowledge that the rapid development of fintech also brings unintended consequences. These include potential disruptions to traditional financial systems and concerns about data privacy and cybersecurity. You then deal with fraud that is both borderless and faceless. As we embrace innovation, the government's role in mitigating these risks is vital. Striking the right balance between innovation and stability, as well as implementing robust data protection measures, will be pivotal in shaping the future of fintech in Uganda. This is one of the key issues that will be handled in the project that the ministry has collaborated with the Japanese government. Amidst these challenges and unintended consequences lies incredible opportunities for startups. The vibrant young talent pool of Uganda, coupled with the government supportive initiatives and the digital transformation roadmap, positions our nation as a hub for groundbreaking innovations. Access to untapped markets, especially in rural areas, offers startups the chance to drive financial inclusion while addressing real-world needs. As you convene over the next 2 days, engage in insightful discussions on how government interventions aligned with the digital transformation roadmap and also our African Union's aspirations can help us overcome obstacles and magnify opportunities, all while safeguarding against unintended consequences. Together as stakeholders in this ecosystem, we can foster a fintech landscape that not only thrives on innovation, but also operates with utmost integrity, benefiting both our entrepreneurs and the broader Ugandan population. Once again, I would like to extend my gratitude to UBA for joining this transformative journey, more so for financial inclusion. Let us engage, learn, and envision a future where innovation, blockchain, AI, financial inclusion, and responsible governance converge for the betterment of Uganda, Africa, and beyond. As I conclude, I call upon the Uganda Bankers Association to work with government in providing an enabling environment for the fintech industry, and I congratulate the Uganda Bankers Association on hosting their 6th annual Bankers Conference and wish you great deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca Kichoncho, representing the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of ICT. So I'm going to request that let's stand up for a second. Let's stand up. It's cold. I see everybody on their machine. Say hello to your neighbor. Say hello to your neighbor. Just find out who they are. I know you probably understand each other. You know each other very well. It's So this is exciting. People were too serious. They can actually smile, eh? You can actually cross and say hello to someone. And then we get to the next session, the keynote speaker. Okay, so let's take our seats. Let's take our seats. One of the things, you can take our seats. One of the things I learned is with caution, allow a Ugandan to greet a neighbor. It becomes a difficult thing to break and say, let's get started, let's get seated. So for those who are still hugging, I will allow you to continue. And so we're done with the first part as we look forward to receiving our keynote from the title sponsor, from MasterCard. I would like to also request that those of us that can share this conference, because it's also available, it's running virtual, it's on BS Live, as well as our social media channels for the bank. Those that are not here physically, they can also still be part of this and learn as much as we're all learning. The one thing that I'm hearing from the first 3 speeches is that one of the areas that they're speaking to is the need for us to invest in our talent and human resource and make sure that they have the skills to respond to these emerging requirements: machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and new technologies. And for us to be able to respond, it is important that we have the skills that are going to enable us maximize this potential. But allow me now request the team at the media table to play us a video, and then we will receive our keynote address. I thank you. Tim?
Technology is reshaping the way we live. It has revolutionized the banking and financial services sector in Uganda. Leading technology is reshaping the way we live. It has revolutionized the banking and financial services sector in Uganda, leading to an increase in the demand for efficient and cost-saving models with 24/7 availability. This trend has led to the innovation and variety of products and services that address the customer's ever-changing needs and demand. However, despite the benefits, these innovations also come with risks that financial institutions are constantly developing strategies to prevent and mitigate. Join us for the 6th edition of the Annual Bankers Conference happening on the 14th to the 15th of August, starting at 8 a.m. under the theme Trends and Innovations in the FinTech Space, Changing the Face of Banking and Financial Services. Visit www.ugandabankers.org/ABC 2023 to register. This conference is sponsored by
Can we give a round of applause for those that have put in the money? One of the sponsors is looking at me and is like, really? Is that all you can do? Can we give them a better round of applause? Much, much better. Sometimes you need to give them that kind of encouragement that next year they can double, and who knows, we will be at a beach somewhere having this conference. But also, given the fact that I have the opportunity, we're running 3 new programs. I lead a software academy called Refactory, and we currently have 3 new programs that we're running. One in data science, it is a short program, 4 months. One in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and in 2024, we will launch the blockchain program. And so for you that have talent that you need to upskill, please do look out for us. I hope this doesn't reduce my invoice to the conference, because I say you've made an announcement, commercial interest.
I had prepared this. Wasuzu Otieno, preliminarily well-versed. But ladies and gentlemen, I will fall back on Ms. Sarah Rapta's very nice introduction. All protocols that were observed still stand. I would like oh, it's coming? Okay, great, thank you. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Shehryar Ali. I am the country manager for MasterCard. I cover East Africa, that's all countries south of Egypt, down to Mauritius. Thank you so much. I'm very humbled and excited at the same time for being an all-weather partner of Uganda Bankers Association, which is all of you. It's the 6th year running, and we are a proud sponsor. But I think what really excites us is the platform that this provides us in terms of collaboration, ideation, and then action. I think there's a lot of good networking I saw this morning, but I'm really looking forward to perhaps by the culmination of this event, that there would be crisp takeaways that we will work with together. The Ugandan ecosystem deserves it. The people of Uganda deserve it. That we put the best and the brightest minds who are present today at this platform. We think through the pain points which are real and look for solutions that come on the back of it and then execute on them. Now, this is not a one-person or one-party thing. We need regulators, we need government. We heard from our previous speakers all the great innovations that are coming through, but then also the fact that there needs to be regulatory infrastructure around it. Cybersecurity came out as a key theme, but we'll explore that a little bit more. So since this room is a bit cold, so we're going to try to get it to be a little bit warmer during this keynote speech. I would like this to be interactive as well. So it's an absolute privilege for me to be in the Pearl of Africa today in Uganda. You know, this morning I had my first bite of matoke, and almost a tear of joy went down my face because it's been a while since I had a good matoke. And I think, you know, credit to Ugandan culture and of course your fine cuisine that you do bring. But then beyond that, it's the history, it's the culture, it's the diversity, it's the nature. You know, there's just so much to be proud of. Ananasis, some of those best ananasis I've had in my life, you know, are from Uganda. So, you know, you have a lot to be thankful for and proud of. But today we answer a calling. And that calling is, like I previously mentioned, is to baseline where we are today, understand how the past has been, what were the learnings from the past. We are, as MasterCard, a 70-year-old almost organization, and there has been a massive transformation that we've experienced over the years, and I'll show you some of that shortly. So where is Uganda today? Where do we see it going? What's the future looking like? That's what we'll delve into in my presentation. I think what's also important is for you to understand what MasterCard is. So some of you, I mean, our name has a little bit of an issue, you know, card is in there, so everybody thinks. So how many of you think MasterCard is a card company? Wow, you've made my life so easy. Nobody thinks MasterCard is a card company. That's great. So yes, we are not a cards company. We are a tech company. We are a multi-segment company. We work with banks, with governments, with fintechs, with merchants, with telcos, and the list is going on. We provide technology. We're not a B2C company. We're a B2B2C company. And we enable technologies in a multi-rail fashion, which includes, you know, you've got the card rails, but then you've got the account rails, you've got e-commerce, you've got blockchain, and that's also diversifying over time. So we said, okay, we're here, we're MasterCard in East Africa. What does that mean? So yeah, great, we have an international network. So what? How are we locally relevant to Uganda, or for that matter, any other East African company? And we took a decision that we're going to localize ourselves. And why was that important? Because unless I can design a solution which talks to a pain point in Uganda, my solution for US or UK or GCC or Asia is irrelevant. And so we said we're going to start looking at pain points locally. We're going to start designing solutions for them. We're going to localize ourselves. So I'm proud to announce on this forum that we will be opening our office in Uganda within the next 12 months with, of course, the blessings of Bank of Uganda and the team that are here. We are going to be hiring locally. We are going all lock, stock, and barrel in terms of our network and domestic network enablement. And when I say that, I mean that everything from commercial cost of a transaction that today MasterCard offers, it will be done at parity with what is the status quo. And if mobile money is the status quo, then our pricing has to be competitively placed there. So we are going all lock, stock, and barrel, infrastructure, people, office, solutions from Uganda, for Uganda. And that's my promise to you that we will deliver within the next 12 to 18 months. And, you know, you're going to hold me accountable because I'll be here after 12 months again to do a dipstick check on that. Thank you. Okay, let's see how technology works for me today. Okay. So, what do you see? That's the learning that I was referring to. 1950s is where we started it out. You know, we had classic era, card came out, whoa, big innovation, right? But then look at the time it's taken. I mean, card has been there, the online revolution only came in 2000. So all that period, card was the thing. Very slow movement, right? Suddenly, in the online evolution between 2000 and 2013, before mobile became the thing, e-commerce started picking up. And so MasterCard pivoted again. And we said, okay, we need to be looking for dual authentication, 3D secure, we need to enable websites so they can accept payments, etc. Well, what was happening behind the scenes? Mobile convergence was coming through. And you will notice that towards the last 5 to 6 years or 7 years, everything is moving from the card form factor to the mobile form factor. 4.5 hours every day we are spending, we in SSA, we are spending on the mobile phone. And I don't want to even get into what my son or my daughter are spending, how much time on that phone, you know, but it's immersive. It's on the verge of immersion, where I actually saw a digital avatar for all of my children, and I was worried. So what I did, every time I get worried, I pick a book. So I would recommend you guys, if you have the time, to pick a book by John Blix, The Digital Twin. It's quite an insightful book. And there's a beautiful scene in there where, you know, there's a gentleman who wakes up in the morning and he's got this screen that pops up and tells him how great his portfolio and his investment banking, you know, portfolio is doing. It tells him that he's got 81 meetings in the day. And, you know, interestingly, his digital avatar is attending 79 meetings of those 81 meetings. He is physically needed for only 2. And one is with his banker, because he is about to get a mortgage. So since the audience is predominantly bankers, so that was interesting. And one was with his health professional, which was a doctor. And so interestingly, you know, doctor, because whatever the doctor decided in terms of his state of his health, that information will go to the insurers. That will go to his underwriters. And so that was a critical meeting for him to physically attend. But everybody else, it was the digital twin who was programmed to go and interface. A bit in the la-la land, isn't this? This is not something that we can all perhaps foresee ourselves doing. But surprisingly, what with ChatGPT being there and how Michael was pointing out to the whole change in approach in terms of that comes on the back of artificial intelligence and, you know, information being on your fingertips, it makes you think. And trust me, those concepts that you think today are unfathomable, may not apply, they will come. They're coming already. Okay, so ubiquity. For those of us, let me level set. Ubiquity is basically about being everywhere, or very fast expanse in terms of access to your platform. So if you think about ubiquity, you'll notice that it took airlines 64 years or 65 years to get to 50 million customers. It took phones 50 years, right? Remember those dial-ups where you dial and then you wait for it to come back? That phone, it took 50 years to get to 50 million. But guess what? If you go down that track and you see how the time is actually shortening. Pokemon Go. Do any of your kids play Pokemon Go? They used to. Maybe it's already gone, right? Now there's something new. But Pokemon Go, it took only 19 days for it to reach 50 million users, right? And you thought that was shocking? Well, let me tell you how much time ChatGPT took. It's not on the charts. Points for guessing. Anybody can guess how much time it took ChatGPT? If you're brave enough, raise your hand and we'll listen. Okay, since I only got this information 2 days ago, so I'll spare you. But if you want to take a guess, please go ahead. ChatGPT? 1 month? Nice try, nice try. Okay, anybody else? 3 days? This guy's hot. I mean, in terms of your answer, otherwise as well, but you know what I mean. Yeah? But it took exactly 5 days. 5 days to get to 50 million users. Now, if you're a banker or a fintech player right now sitting in this room listening to this, and you are thinking, I'm sad, I've got, I don't know, 1 million customers, they're going to stay with me, my platforms are solid, I'm well regulated, therefore I don't fear disruption. I think you need to think again. Process re-engineering, value re-engineering, business model re-engineering is becoming a BAU now. Your customers, again, honorable speaker from Bank of Uganda mentioned that people are not looking for bank, they're looking for experiences, banking experiences. That's what matters. What's your technology stack at the back of that? What your processes are secondary in nature to them. I mean, that doesn't really bother them. It's about what I expect from my financial services provider. How quickly can I get it? How easy is it? Is it safe? Can I trust it? Is the infrastructure something that I feel confident in? And am I getting the value in the back of that? Those are the things that people are actually looking forward to or expecting. Okay. Any lovers of web? The different versions of web, we hear 1, 2, 3. I've even heard 4 and 5 these days. But, it's exciting. It's super exciting when you think about what we've seen. You remember that strange sound it used to make when the modem used to be connected? I mean, I'm sorry, I'm dating myself. You remember? You almost felt like you were about to have a seizure. It was like, it was painful. So that's where Web 1.0 started. Right? So in Web 1.0, it's the information highway. Information highway. You had offshoots of e-commerce slightly coming in Web 1.0, but that's where it kind of got stuck. Web 2.0 comes in, and you have social media, you have mobile first, always on services available, engagement, cloud came through. So there's a slight difference between cloud and edge computing, which I'll explain in a bit, but most of you may already know that. So that's where we are, kind of like at the edge of Web 2.0, somewhere getting into Web 3.0. Now, social media has been a revolution. Yeah, how many of you use, I'm going to date myself again. Anybody still uses Facebook? I hope Facebook's not in the room. I'm sorry, otherwise I'm in big trouble. Yeah, Facebook, I use it. I'm a proud user of Facebook. But now when I'm listening to the younger generation, what are they talking to me about? They're talking about, well, Insta is there. And then there are a host of these new names that are thrown at me, which I barely kind of, have any affinity to or connection to. But these platforms are coming in and taking over that, behavior very quickly. Now, what is happening? Why is it happening? They're seamless. The new platforms are easy to get onto. It's easy to connect with your networks. But there's Web 3.0 at the horizon. Now, what Web 3.0 does is that it brings semantics to your web experience. It brings in data points which are relevant to you, either from a profile perspective, geography perspective, your background perspective. It looks at your previous patterns and it gives you the relevant data. Have anybody experienced where you're talking to your wife or your friends or anybody and you're talking about a particular topic and suddenly feeds start showing up to that effect, or you've just searched something and then you go onto your Insta or your other reels and you suddenly start seeing those reels coming in. That is semantic web. It is a kind of like a more focused nuance for you to consume the areas that you're interested in, right? Now, there's all these concerns around security, data, privacy, GDPR, and so on and so forth, which I think are really important for us to build on as we charter this course of AI, because AI has to be structured to an optimum level for the ecosystem to benefit from. That's the core intent of AI. How many of you have invested in crypto Or maybe this is a painful question to ask today. Any crypto? Yeah, I see some hands going up. Great. Well, I hope you invested in the right time, but you know, as an asset class, crypto has been quite problematic for some. So, what did crypto enable? It's something called decentralized autonomous organizations, called DAOs. DAOs is a term that you'll start hearing if you haven't heard already, you'll start hearing about them very, very soon. So Ethereum would be a DAO, Bitcoin would be a DAO. There's no central party owning these platforms or entities. These entities have a decentralized nature. There's all these users, miners, who are actually members. They have voting rights in terms of how the entity is going to function. So it's quite a unique model that's coming out that I think we need to keep an eye out in Web 3.0. And then last but not least, edge computing. So we heard cloud computing. So, you know, most of us probably use cloud, right? You've got your phone, you take some information, you put it up on the cloud. You access it as and when you need it, right? Now, edge computing is something where you, excuse me, you take, so let's say if you're at your home, Internet of Things warrants that the devices in your home are also the holders of data, information. So edge computing is in that if you're in a certain place, it will pull the data necessary for you to make a decision or form a view or form an insight from the area that's around you and make it visible to you, for you to make an optimum decision in that moment or the time or a project that you're doing. So that's edge computing, where devices, not necessarily computers, it could be your security devices, it could be something else, but that is, and the periphery of where you are. So this is coming up, guys, so keep an eye out on Web 3.0. Immersive experiences are on the rise. Okay. All right, let's go with whatever the technology enables me for. So, on that note, it's important to absorb the first thing. 76% of the people surveyed globally said, we would be happy to switch from our current financial services provider if we get better value, better service, and we trust them more. It's not a very comfortable fact to absorb, let's say, for those of us who are used to long-term loyalty. Our children, the next generation, is not staying put. 68% of them are happy with banking with a non-financial company. So that's another message that we're getting, that if a fintech makes it easier, leaner, you know, I don't know, lesser KYC, easier access, lesser documentation, but still enables me to do all the use cases that I'm used to, then I should. So for example, a super app that's picking up in Uganda is Tuko. Any of you use Tuko? Little app. Yeah, so some of these are going to be, they're coming up the curve. If you look at Safaricom and M-Pesa, that in Kenya obviously took off, right, as a big super app. So all the multifunctional usages were catered for. So these apps will at some point in time plug into that segment, the new generation, who will then only know that as their financial services platform. Last but not least, 38% of unsecured loans were also issued by non-financial institutions or fintechs, for that matter. So something to keep an eye out for. This is one of my, I think, last slides on the current. So what's happening is there's a singer or a rapper called Travis Scott. Anybody listens to rap? Oh, good. We've got a few rap. Oh, great. Lovely, lovely. So, Travis Scott decided to do his first metaverse concert on Fortnite. Anybody plays Fortnite? Or you know your kids play Fortnite? Yeah? Okay. So, guess what? In a normal concert, there's only 150,000 capacity So he made about $1.7 million on the back of that. He goes on to Fortnite, does a 90-minute gig where who was watching? Avatars, your children's avatars, those who play Fortnite, you know, they were just their avatars in that session. Obviously, your kid was sitting behind the screen watching it. But in that, he made $20 million. 90 minutes, $20 million. Connected to sensors in some studio, and he was doing his concert. The concert was free, so there was no ticket. How did he make money? He made money by selling skins to the avatars which our children were buying. So imagine when you talk to our children and we say, oh, metaverse is something far in the future, digital twin is a concept. Sorry, no, digital twin is alive now. Your avatar is there now. That avatar is getting commerce, is attracted to that avatar. Can you believe, I heard about a Gucci bag being sold in metaverse at an exorbitantly high price, which will only be worn by the avatar of that person. Mind-boggling, right? So these are things that are just coming up. Okay, so we call ourselves the original fintech as MasterCard, but you know, if you think about it, it's not totally off. You think about Apple Card, you know, that we launched in the US, Nubank in Brazil. It's one of the leading use cases for a totally digital bank. 22 million customers in Brazil, and we are their backbone in terms of payments and enablement for virtual cards. We have Orange in Europe. Again, MasterCard has got the capital in terms of their tech stack, which enables them to provide services seamlessly. And then a little closer to home, MTN, Airtel. I don't know if some of you may have seen our announcement yesterday as well on Airtel regarding the seamless remittance service that we have launched. So that's something that's in the pipeline. MTN is home here, so I think you would know as well, we've got virtual cards that we do issue on the back of MTN. But then in that box that you see on the right, you'll notice a number of names which are predominantly fintechs. So we believe in the power of collaboration. Fintechs need support. I was sitting with the founder of Shazam in London in Feb this year. How many of you have used Shazam? Oh my goodness, music lovers. I should have started with a song. Oh, goodness me. Okay, so Shazam's owner, Dheeraj Mukherjee in London, he shared with me something. He said, I started my journey out of university. 3 colleagues, 3 friends from, it was UCLA and Stanford. And these 3 people who were the founders of Shazam, they started with an idea in the garage and you know, it just worked its way out. And they made something which totally flopped. This was in 2000s early, right? No record company would want it. They didn't see the sense of it. You know, Napster was the big thing back in the day. Some of you may remember Napster. It was a cool term to use at that time, but now nobody knows what it is. But they said that music recognition at one point in time will become a thing. So they had that belief. As a fintech, nobody really supported them much, he shared. At one point in time, they went ahead and they sold the rights to the software, and the platform of Shazam was sold at peanuts. Later on, they actually ran into certain entities who said, okay, let's try this out. Music recognition is increasing in demand, especially with phone becoming the form factor. And lo and behold, soon it was Apple knocking on their door saying, we want Shazam. They bought that back. They sold it to Apple for $400 million. Right? So today, all of our Apple phones have Shazam built in. His message to all fintechs was, you might have a solution, but may not be ripe for this time. You may have to struggle to convince people that something is new, something is disruptive. But one thing you have to hold on to is belief. If you believe in your idea, you believe that this is what the future will be about, or this will complement the future generations, you have to drive it. You must not give up. You need to look for like-minded partners. There are enough people who will say, this is not possible, it's not doable. I mean, you try a new idea. I would challenge anybody in this room. Go try a new idea. Try to sell it to a VC. You'll find maybe 50 people who will say this is not doable, and then you might find somebody smart who might say, hey, I think there's a time for this. Maybe not right now, but there's a time for this. So that belief, that determination, that courage, and looking for the right like-minded partners, that's critical for any fintech, trying to have a go at it. Okay, I'll skip this one. So there are 5, let's say, predictions, for that matter, that I think are known to you. So shifting from cash to digital payments is accelerating, and rightfully so. If you have a GDP of, let's say, $50 billion, the amount of money being spent on managing of cash is 2% of that GDP. Now, whichever way we do our math, that's a lot of zeros going into managing of cash. Okay. Last time I checked, no, illegal business was doing their business on the back of, KYC, AML, CFT, bank accounts. The cash is always hovering around anytime, whether you talk about drugs or whether you talk about any kind of illicit business. Cash is somewhere around because it doesn't leave a trace. So cost to the economy, doesn't leave a trace, is clunky, securitization of cash, transportation of cash. We always think we go to an ATM, we take out the cash, we're like, there's no cost to this. If I use my card or if I use my mobile money, I'll be charged money. Sorry, no, you are paying for the cash. Because every time you go, well, firstly, it's access to cash, then it's managing of cash, pilferage of cash, risks around getting, God forbid, robbed, increases if you're carrying a ton of cash as an SME from your one transaction to the other. So that's going to happen, and that's happening already. Mobile is at the center of all kind of innovation and co-creation. I think that's a given. We see that it's becoming, you can leave your wallet at home. How many of you are comfortable with leaving your mobile? You almost have a panic attack, like, okay, how am I going to spend my day, right? So that's happening. Thirdly, mobile is also giving you use cases which previously you would think, hey, I might still go to a bank if I have to do a remittance, might still go to a bank and stand in a line, bother some very nice banker sitting on the other side to do my remittance. Actually, really, do I really need to do that? They say, oh, KYC, I need to make sure you're the right person. Well, yeah, that's correct. But liveness check, there are other methods of virtual KYC that have been tried and tested that one should consider. So before joining MasterCard, I was working for a bank in Mauritius, and we ran into the same problem. And we sat down with the regulator, and we said, let's do a demo of liveness check. And let's really try to poke holes into that and see how bad is it. So when we sat down and we did that liveness check, we realized that frankly, it does a full 360, so you have to obviously move around your face, it does a full check on your biometrics. It gives you a very high sense of confidence. Unless you have the other person sedated or something and then you're moving their face, you're pretty safe, And we got the provisional approval. And I was so delighted that I heard from the honorable speaker from Bank of Uganda that sandbox licensing, test and learn, is already thriving here. I met, one of the leaders of Wave, who've just recently been granted that license. Rashmi, great stuff. We have to have that test and learn capability. Let's try things. Some of it will require refinement, as any platform does, but we must be open to that. And I think the regulatory framework in Uganda is providing you that. So I think a big round of applause for the regulators who have to do the tough job of balancing the opportunity, the innovation, with the right controls and safeguards. Now, let's move to something really interesting, which is socioeconomic challenges. COVID came, went, right? Now, we talk about this theme coming up, about social ESG. How is my financial services provider talking to my values? Whether it's around people, it's around poverty alleviation, it's around skill set development, supporting of SMEs, MSMEs, who perhaps don't have access to credit. I mean, I love Uganda. You know, I just heard recently about Numida securing some funding, and I heard about M-KOPA, HIP IPO. How do we say HIP IPO? I say HIP IPO, but maybe it's a different pronunciation. But HIP IPO, securing funding. And a lot of their work is around enabling, you know, for the unbanked, for the gender gap affected women. Those are really noble causes. And if we can somehow provide the technical platforms to deliver those gaps, we are doing our job in terms of ESG. You know, so in MasterCard, I'm proud to mention this because, you know, our bonuses are linked with ESG. So if I don't deliver on my ESG goals, say bye-bye to that bonus, you know. That's how simple it has become. And I would recommend that whenever we're looking at performance management and people, we think of that. Yeah, it's good to embed it into the system. Regulatory landscape, we've already talked a little bit about it, but I think interoperability, cybersecurity, test and learn, sandbox licensing, all of that is the focus areas these days, and we need to really appreciate them, use them. Please don't think that, oh, a regulator means that probably I'll be asked 100 questions and nothing will move. No, things happen, and things happen sometimes faster than you think. So kindly use this platform. FitSPA is another platform. You know, there are a number of platforms in Uganda which I think we all should utilize to create opinions about things that we're unsure of. You know, the more we discuss, the more we are open to discuss, the better it is for us. Okay. So, Metcalfe law. How many of you know the Metcalfe law? It's university days stuff, so, you know, who remembers that? But anyways, so Metcalfe law is that 70% of any flow will fall in to the top platforms that enable the processing of it. And these would be the big names, right? The aggregators, the marketplaces, the Amazons of the world. The top 70% of all the e-commerce volume, let's say, will fall through those 5 or 6 platforms. Now, why is that the case? Because they provide a seamless service. It has very little friction involved in them. And obviously, they've made a name for themselves over the years. And their service levels are as per the customer's expectations, right? So in East Africa, I already see those platforms coming up. So these super apps that are the talk of the town, they enable, you know, ease for you in terms of accessing information, doing transactions, whatever use case you're looking for, it solves for them, whether it's hailing a ride or paying your utility bill. These super apps are becoming instinctive for our next generation because they think, hey, I want to get by easy, I don't want to face any friction, let me just go on to that super app. So that's something to look out for. In-store check-ins and checkouts. So I recently tried a payment with a ring on my finger, and it's such a nice feeling. You go to a shop, you do your transaction, and then you pay with your finger, and you're out. You know, tap on phone. It's like, yeah, you got your phone, even if you don't wear a ring, on your finger, and you go and you tap the phone at the checkout place, and you just walk out. You know, now biometric-based payments are started in the US where you can actually just go and look into the camera and your payment is done. They all come with their own security challenges and so on, but This is already happening, and it's coming, whether we like it or not. Seamless experiences. Open banking is a difficult cookie to cut, especially if your data structures are not evolved enough, and the data controls are not strong enough. And it's always difficult to say, hey, I'm going to share my information with my competitor. No. Is third party that I'm going to submit my data to, my customers' data, are they going to take care of that? Are there enough guardrails around it to keep it secure? And yes, these are real challenges. But in a lot of the markets where open banking has somewhat succeeded in terms of especially the credit space, that there is an infrastructure and there is a use case. I would love that if I go to a particular fintech, that fintech would have some of the information regarding, not me personally, my private information is my private, but they have my profile based on, okay, where am I coming from? What do I do? What kind of facilities I already have? And then take a decision on me and underwrite me instantly, right? So open banking has its use cases and it's coming up. So on sustainability, I'll just jump over to the next slide, and I want to share with you, this is not Standard Chartered here. It's a Standard Chartered in Singapore. And there is a API called the Carbon Calculator app. We dropped it into East Africa 3 months ago. So we have that available now. What's the purpose? So if my son says, hey, I only want to bank with a bank where I can see what is my CO2 footprint, right? So based on my usage, how much CO2 emissions am I causing? This app enables, or this API enables you to track that. It will enable you to say, okay, instead of taking your cycle, you're going on a car, or you're taking a train, or you're using your funds for, something that leads to higher CO2 emissions. By the end of the month, the API in your mobile banking app will show, I need to offset this by planting 6 trees at $2 each, or $1 each, whatever is the cost. So what does that do? In that moment, you've done your value check in terms of your sustainability value and goal, and you say, okay, I'm going to offset this by paying right now, so I'm in my app, I'm going to make a payment towards my favorite charity or favorite organization which actually does the plantation, and I'm feeling good about this, right? So this is another one that I would recommend you explore. It's real time and it's backed by a Nordic company called Deconomy, and we'd love to share more details with anybody who's interested. Okay. Technology is giving up on me a bit. Okay. All right. So multi-rails. In order for a fintech to be successful, and today we're discussing around the changing trends and fintech's innovations, I think when you're looking at partners like us, or for that matter, any other partner, you should look at, is there a diversity or diversification in terms of the rails that partner offers, right? If somebody comes to you and says, well, I've just got the mobile money rail, well, that's pretty much it. Well, okay, that serves for one particular use case, but then what about, I want access to e-commerce, I want access to ACH or bank accounts, I want to enable blockchain, private label wallets. Well, what we are doing at MasterCard is we're trying to diversify that so that depending on whatever use case you're trying to solve for, we have those plug-and-play options available for you. It enables certain experiences for the customer. For example, click to pay. Today, if you go on Amazon and you want to order something, or for your local website here, you want to order something, what happens? You have to put in your card number, you have to put in a little bit about your information, about who you are, where you live, all of that good stuff. Well, is it really necessary? Could we not just use a directory service where no matter which website you go to, the directory just pulls in most of the non-authentication based information already? And then what you do is simply put in the OTP to feel safe, right? So that click to pay optionality is live in East Africa with us. Would love to share that as well. But it's just thinking through certain friction points, pain points, things that take time, and removing them one by one, one by one. So I think that makes a big difference. So secondly, QR is something that Michael spoke about in terms of the agenda today, and you're scanning your QRs. My business card is on QR, which took a little bit of time for me to get used to. But QR payments is critical for MSMEs. So if you're a fintech or you're a financial institution who is looking for supporting MSMEs, QR is one that you must look into, just because it's very light in terms of lift and shift. It's simply, there's no POS terminals involved, there's no phones involved in terms of the holding of the QR, it can just be a sticker. And that QR comes at a fraction of the cost of the conventional acceptance methods that we're used to today. Tap on phone is another one, which is really good, because everybody has a phone, so why not use that as a point of acceptance, right? Maybe I was just plugging it wrong. Okay, Uganda is definitely more than ripe for innovative acceleration. You have got a flourishing ICT unit. You have 160 fintechs in Uganda. FITSPA, a big shout out to FITSPA. If FITSPA is in the house, a big round of applause for them for the great work they're doing. And mobile money penetration is growing. I think, Sarah, thank you very much for giving us the latest insight on the number of bank accounts that you've grown. I mean, that's tremendous as well. It doesn't grow that fast. I've seen some of the other markets, so the bankers are really doing a great job. But then, what are those pivots that we are missing today that we need to look at? So let me give you an example. Policy making. A lot of us might be thinking that I have to make a policy with some seasoned, experienced professionals, some government officials. I'll sit down, I'll make a policy, and that policy hopefully will be reasonably well baked and it'll work. In real life, the policy is only tested with the successes that it brings after the policy has been implemented. Did it open doors or did it close doors? Did it bring foreign direct and tech investment into Uganda, or did it leave something at the door? So I was sitting with the US ambassador for Kenya a couple of months ago, and she was solving for a problem. She wanted one of these vaccine companies to set up a $500 million plant in Kenya. Okay, Moderna. Moderna was the name. Now, what was the issue? Issue was that there's an equity rule. In order for you to set up a company in Kenya, you need to put in, the 50% of the ownership has to be with the local Kenyan. The taxes that are allocated to a tech company are, let's say, was slightly higher. So what happened? In that room, there were policymakers, there was Moderna itself, there was obviously the government representative and the US Embassy covering the interests of Moderna. And they agreed that for that particular vertical, which is healthcare, they don't necessarily need to follow the same route. And so a tweak was made. 2 days later, an announcement was made by President Ruto, His Excellency, in Kenya, and Moderna signed the contract, and $500 million of investment came through. To me, that was a live example of how there's policy, yes, there are rules, we keep the rules, we respect them, and they're absolutely serving a purpose. But when it comes to actually, making that policy work for you, that's only when you have these successes that are being tested in real time with that policy. And we need to be nimble enough to see where that policy's original intent still safeguards and where, it makes sense. Let's go ahead with a slight deviation if it's needed. So I think in the banking industry, for example, we have a lot of tick boxes, right? We have checklists, we have all of this great stuff. I would recommend that from a banking community perspective, and I've been a banker most of my life, It's important that our teams, our colleagues, the front lines, are told about the purpose behind that tick box. What was the intent of that tick box? They need to pass intel back up to the chain to the decision makers in the bank that, yes, there was a purpose, but for certain use cases, that purpose, it's not fulfilling what it was meant to do. In fact, it's creating inefficiency, customers are not happy. A gentleman sitting next to me in the flight last night told me he had to go for 3 weeks to just change his mobile phone on the system in a bank. 3 weeks to change one mobile phone. 3 branches. Went to one branch, that system didn't apply there, went to another one, so on. So what I think, and that's a customer, plain customer, right? So if you think about it, these are all things that probably you know. There needs to be intelligent decision-making that's distributed within your organization so that it feeds you back with the customer experience, either being at par, meeting or exceeding customer expectation, or just not doing the job. And for you to relook at that and say, okay, I think we need to, instead of looking at this policy renewal as per the SLA, I have to look at it after 2 years. No, I think I need to look at it right now. Yeah? So this is the kind of dynamism that any industry, it's not just the banking industry, it's any industry. It could be a fintech, it could be a government, it could be anything. I mean, but we need to apply that lens. The world is moving a bit faster. Our customers' expectations are moving a lot faster. I think I might be eating out too much of the time, but I'll just spend 1 more minute on securitization. And I think we have a very big session. I think Diana is in the house. I saw Diana somewhere. Oh, she's come. Okay.